Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
The U.S. announces infrastructure strikes on Iran. Student loan defaults reach record highs. An AI model independently hacks another system, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Donald Trump said the U.S. would escalate retaliatory strikes against Tehran, bombing or destroying one bridge or power plant every time a ship comes under attack in the Strait of Hormuz, after the U.S. announced the death of additional service members overseas. From this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran, Trump said in a Truth Social post. Trump made the comments hours before he arrived at a dignified transfer of U.S. service members who were killed during Iranian strikes on a U.S. military base in Jordan and a soldier who died from a drone in Iraq. President Trump approved a landmark nuclear agreement with Saudi Arabia on Wednesday, clearing the way for American companies to build the oil kingdom's first nuclear power program. The deal creates a legal pathway for uranium enrichment on Saudi soil, reportedly without the gold standard safeguards Washington has traditionally demanded. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has warned that if Tehran ever gets the bomb, Riyadh will want one too. Congress must review the pact, but it needs a veto-proof majority to stop it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio insists the U.S. won't sign anything that risks proliferation. The Federal Communications Commission voted Wednesday to block sales of devices in the United States that contain certain hardware components made by Chinese companies designated as national security risks. The agency already maintains a restricted list that includes Huawei and ZTE. Since 2022, devices made directly by companies on that list have been barred from receiving new FCC authorizations, but devices made by other manufacturers could still qualify even if they contained components supplied by restricted companies. The new rule closes that gap. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr announced that devices containing Huawei-made logic-bearing hardware components will no longer qualify for authorization. Huawei did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The FCC has taken several additional steps this year involving Chinese and foreign technology equipment. Last month, the Commission prohibited imports of additional equipment from a group of Chinese manufacturers effective July 16th. It has also moved against certain foreign drone and router models and proposed restrictions involving telecommunications carriers that interconnect with Chinese companies designated as security risks. Federal student loan defaults have reached a record high as more than 9 million borrowers are severely behind in what is now a record-breaking debt crisis. 1 in 5 federal student loan borrowers is in default, which means they have gone more than 9 months without making a required payment. The number of defaults exploded from 5.3 million in June of last year. That's more than $230 billion out of the $1.7 trillion federal student loan portfolio. Federal data also shows close to 1 million borrowers are already between 6 and 9 months behind, putting them right on the edge of default, and student loans are difficult to discharge when filing for bankruptcy. OpenAI said Wednesday that its artificial intelligence models were behind an unprecedented cyber incident that affected the open source developer platform Hugging Face, rattling researchers across the industry. The company said a combination of its model's GPT 5.6 Sol and a more capable model that has not yet been released escaped a sandboxed testing environment, accessed the internet, and exploited a vulnerability to gain access to Hugging Face's systems. The model was trying to find information that it could use to cheat on an evaluation, and it succeeded, OpenAI said in a blog post on Tuesday. Both companies are actively investigating the incident. Hugging Face disclosed that it was looking into a security event last week, saying in a release at the time that the incident was unique because it was driven end to end by an autonomous AI agent system. European Union antitrust regulators said on Wednesday they had signed off on Paramount Skydance's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. The approval, which included concessions made by Paramount, comes as the deal has been delayed in the U.S. due to concerns raised by state attorneys general. In order to garner the approval, the European Commission, the executive body of the EU, said Paramount agreed to divest its stake in a film distribution joint venture with United International Pictures in Europe, and said it would not enter into any film distribution deal with Universal for the next 10 years in Europe. These commitments fully address the competition concerns identified by the Commission by ensuring that the films of the merged entity will not be distributed jointly with those Universal or Disney, according to the EU's release. European regulators have fined Google 890 million euros or $1 billion, alleging the company gives preferential treatment to its own services. The fine is Google's first under the European Union's sweeping Digital Markets Act, which aims to scrutinize big tech's operating practices in Europe. Shares of Google parent Alphabet were around 4% lower in pre-market trading, but that primarily reflected investor unease over rising AI spending outlined in the company's earnings report on Wednesday. The European Commission, the EU's executive arm, said it found that Google gives preferential treatment to its own services, such as shopping and hotels, over those of third parties in search. That's the Raw Naked Truth for July 23rd, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you listen to podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.